Hi everyone, this is finally part 3 of the flip through of my bullet journal 2022. Thank you so much if you've been with me throughout this entire journey. Apologies for a very long rambling about each of the weekly spread. If you haven't seen part 1 and part 2 and you're interested, I'll link them below so you can check them out. So, what does August look like? It's a beehive who's celebrating a party, having a little bit of a feast. This is another stamp set again from Lawn Fawn that I thought, it's brilliant to turn it into a bullet journal theme. So August, we have a celebration of the bees, and that's what you see throughout, basically, of these little bees, and the little flowers and the beehive that's their house. The calendar are quite simple and very similar to the June one because, again, this is, if you think about the timeline, this is where one of the first spreads that I made. So they're very similar with the previous ones. I haven't really kind of like experiment in a different style of calendar or different style of spread, so I still use very similar ones. And then later on, as I do many other things and I learn many other things and got inspirations from many other artists and bullet journalists, they become a lot more diversified. August, yes, it doesn't say August, but again, I know what it means. It means August, so I don't fret too much. The first weekly, I'm quite proud of this design because of these tiny little dies here that comes from Lawn Fawn as well. And I thought, just little things to spruce things up. So just a little honeycomb motif there to incorporate the entire box. And you can see each of these bees are different from one another. Happy to have them there. This is another spread that I'm quite proud of, and definitely one of my most favorites throughout the entire year, with these honeycomb stencils again from Lawn Fawn. And I use distress ink to use the stencils, and I just stencil them so that it looks like this hexagonal shape for each of them, and I think it worked really, really well. So I was really happy the way that this turned out. Really love this spread. For this layout, I was really inspired by Tian Bujo. So just kind of like, again, a very quite simple design of the box, but it works. Even though it's simple, just this part at the top where you leave like 2 lines to write the date and the name of the day really changed the entire thing. Imagine if it's just like this box and then just write that out and then you, I don't know, highlight it or something like that. That would look very different than if you have these line or these banner at the top, so to say, to write your days. So yeah, just very little variation, again, really create a different look. I love that this is basically based on a very, I would say, common layout, at least in my journal. So if you see, each of these are 12 by 12, and then if you do it all the way in the page, you will have 12 different spots. So then you can play around with it. You can play around if you only need 7. Are you going to do this 7, or are you going to do this 7, for example, just by picking and choose which of the 12 boxes that you're going to use, and use the rest of the other spaces for different things, for decorations, for your calendar, for your notes, would really bring a very different look to your spread again. And this is the last spread of the month, and this is genuinely, I think, a genius layout, and I have to really credit Kotose Journal for this. I mean, look at this. throughout you see that I have very mirror image, so to say, in terms of the layout itself, but this is quite different. So the genius of this is that well, first of all, you see that this is horizontal and this is vertical. Like, I wouldn't ever thought of that you can actually do it that way, but now that I've seen this kind of layout, made me think, oh, maybe I can also diversify the different layout that I have with some horizontal boxes combined with vertical boxes. I might do that in the future. And the great thing about this is that I think one of the little tips that maybe is useful here is that sometimes it's good to think how your bullet journals are divided into sections. So this one, as I said before, this is basically kind of like a 4-section of verticals, right? So there's like 1 section, 2 section, 3 section, and 4 sections, and each of those you divided them into 3. For this one, you can see that, imagine this as like dividing them into 4 sections, and for each of those sections you can think on how do you populate them and replicate them throughout, and then each of those can be a little page in itself, so you can have a tinier layout in there that you replicate in all 4 corners. So that's another way of thinking about, like, if you are also interested in diversifying your layout of the weekly, on how that you are able to kind of like achieve that look. So last weekly of August. For September, let's go to September next. We have another picking theme. So we have strawberry before, and this time we have apple. I have to be honest that for this year, I pretty much just follow the what do you call that? Like the issuance, is that what you call it? Like whenever Lawn Fawn has a new edition of stamp or they publish new stamp, for example, then I would kind of just follow the different stamps that they put out. And luckily for me this year, it just kind of worked out in terms of the theme for each of the different bullet journals, and I'm hoping for 2023 that's also the same case, and I think it will be. So I'm quite excited to see what are the different stamps that they come up with, and then use each of the different stamp set for the theme for my bullet journal. So for this year, they have this stamp set as well, which is about apple picking. It worked really well, and the stamp set is this one with the bigger trees over here that I use as the focal point for the cover, and then I use these tinier trees from a previous stamp set that they have that actually work as well to turn them into apple trees by putting different apples on the trees, different colored apples on the trees. And then we have the naughty mice that you'll see. They have featured throughout bullet journals because Lawn Fawn really used these little mice for many different scenes in their stamp set. So September, there's one fallen apple over there. September, and this is the calendar, and I use these line styles because I use the line style calendar usually when the stamp set needs some grounding, and because this is about picking apples, so I wanted to have a little bit of a picnic scene here, so that's why I'm using this line design for the calendar where I can have this scene like they're sitting on the ground over there. The first weekly of September, shout out again to Kotose Journal. I think you probably already guessed with the kind of like design of the inside of the boxes. And this is an 11 days spread for the first weekly of September. And how clever it is to have 4 over here and then 7 over here with the notes at the end. This is probably the one that I am a little bit like unsure of, because yes, I don't necessarily think that it needs to be exactly symmetrical all the time with your spread. Having one page have a very different style on the next is a little bit out of balance for my own preference, but I might get used to it. I never really think of my spread that way, like one side has a different style with the other side, and one side only have 4, the other side has 7, for example. For this one, I kind of like reproduce what Kotose Journal did, and I thought, okay, it worked for this spread, but if I have to come up with it myself, I might not do that, but I might change my mind in the future. I might actually fallen in love with this style of like not having exactly the same layout for both pages in one spread. Another one that I use die set for. I thought this one says, I really like this one because you can really see these are apples with the little leaves over here, and each of the apple size is perfect for place to write out summary of the day. Another Dutch door with a border here. There's an apple border. I cannot resist it. I cannot help myself. I have to make it into a Dutch door design with the apple border here to kind of like flip it around. And I have the tiny apple as well to write out the date of the day. Yeah, so that's the last weekly for September. Moving along to October, Halloween month. And I love the little nod to Halloween for this theme. Sometimes I think that maybe to have it more subtle than outright Halloween or outright Christmas, for example, or outright any other holidays, I like it better. Granted, with Valentine's, it's pretty much kind of like on the nose. It's about all hearts and everything like that. But other than that, I like it more kind of like a subtle nod to the holiday itself. So bats for October's in relation to Halloween, I think it makes sense. And I love the color combo for this month. And this is probably the softest color combo that I have for this year. So it might not pick up that well on camera, but I love to go a bit more pastel-y sometimes. So as you can see throughout my bullet journal, even my color combo, they're not always the same. I have pastel color combo, I have more muted color combo, I also have bright color combo. It's just whatever works with the theme of that particular month, and also I like to vary them a lot so that if I think, I don't have a pastel color combo yet, then I would intentionally think about what a pastel color combo that I can use for a particular theme. That's how I like to vary things in my own journal. So these adorable bats are for this month, plus the spiders. I personally love spiders. I think they're really cute. I know some people don't think about them that way, but I really love them. So I love them being part of this spread. And for this one, this guy is just hanging from the October sign, October month there. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cheeky of the spider. The calendar is the same with the calendar in September with the line style, and it's because I want to use the line where the bats are hanging from. So it worked to make the same style with September. For September, I use the lines as the ground. For October, I use the lines for the bats to hang from. And again, the little spider. The first weekly, it's quite straightforward when it comes to the design itself. This time, the name of the days are in the frame. In one of those other bullet journalists that I mentioned previously use this in their design as well. So I thought I would love to replicate that as well, to use the name of the days as part of the frame. And then I gave a little bit of this moon design where I put the dates. And you see here the moon, I have it here and there, and this moon also from die cut from Lawn Fawn. Doesn't it look like cheese? I think it looks like cheese. This one is quite simple. Like I said, sometimes I use the layout and the design of the layout not necessarily informed by the theme, but something a little bit more simple. And one of the ways that make it simple for me is if I think about different stationaries or different paper design that can be used as kind of like little notes. So that's what I'll do as well here and there in different themes. This one, I thought it was quite clever of me doing these boxes with this side of the boxes as the replicating the bat's wings here. If you can see, the bat wings is similar to this, and I thought, Isn't that quite clever to kind of like incorporate a little bit of part of the theme into the box's design? So yeah, so sometimes that's what I try to do as well. Last but not least, I'm so proud of this spread because I'm pretty sure you've seen this style before where you have something circular in the middle and then have the days kind of like spread out like that towards the side. And I always wanted to replicate that, but I have no idea how it works, so that when I finally saw this theme that has a moon as a circular part of it, I thought I have to try that particular layout, and I think it worked really well here. I think particularly worked because I incorporated these branches as part of the days, so it ties up the entire theme with the two bats flanking the moon, and I hope I'll be able to replicate this also in 2023. I don't know yet because I'm waiting for what are the different stamps that Lawn Fawn is going to come up with for 2023, but if I can replicate this particular layout again, I would, because I love this, and I think this is one of the more unique one rather than just having boxes around. So yeah, happy with this one. Now, November. November is a very bright spread, and it's these mice again that are doing their shenanigans, and they are being really messy. So the entire November, the idea is arts and crafts, and I thought November tend to be quite mellow, and I wanted to kind of be a bit more brighten up, so to pick myself up as well. So that's why I chose this theme, which is arts and crafts with a lot of ink splotches everywhere. And this I use stencil from Lawn Fawn again with distress ink. This one's a bit of a fail. This meant to be purple, but unfortunately the sponge that I used to do the stencils has some yellow in it, so that it becomes a little bit more muddy. But it is what it is. It still works. And look at all of these different mice playing around with the paints, having the splatter. And this, I use this easel die cut again from Lawn Fawn for the cover page and the calendar. This I thought was quite, again, a genius layout for calendar, and this is from Juni Sun Xiaomei, and I think they made their calendar into a map, and for this one I made it into some folded cards. I guess you can make like these many folded cards if you want to, and I thought it goes along with the theme of the mice doing arts and crafts. And for this particular one specifically, instead of playing with paint as you see at the bottom here, I make them do some paper crafting to kind of match the design of the calendar. So that's why they're playing a little bit more with papers around here at the bottom. The first weekly is an easel theme. I thought I think it's just lends itself, design itself, because an easel is pretty much kind of like a square with a little bit of support behind it. So I have to make one of the weeklies into easel theme, and I have different mice here at the bottom with their paintbrush and their different colored paints trying to do something on the easel. The next one is again paper crafts, and you see different kind of memos and different kind of paper shapes around, just to tie up again that theme. And I thought it works kind of well with the idea of the mice doing different papery based craft. And the calendar is actually calendar being stuck to the wall like that. Now this spread is a paintbrush with the paint as the place where I write down the summary of the day. I have to have a shout out to Riley Autumn for this one. She came up with this paintbrush design, and I know that she's very proud of it. She mentioned it in several of her videos, and she used it as kind of like the decorations of the journal. So I have a little paintbrush with this little kind of like paint coming out of the paintbrush, but I thought to myself, I can make it giant, and if I make it giant, it becomes a place where I can write down the summary of the day. So that's where this idea came from, basically. And I think it worked how bright and colorful it is. I love it when it's just basically splotch of colors the entire layout for the design. Last but not least, this is a stamp motif basically for the weekly, and this came from Bullet the Maria. So she has this exact layout basically, and her ideas was with different flowers, but I thought I want to replicate that stamp set feelings, the stamp for sending letters, not the stamp to make these cute little images here. And then I just have the different items inside of the stamps itself throughout to make all the different kind of design, and with the two mice of course at the top. So this is the last weekly of November, and then we'll go to the last month of the year, December. So December, I thought I was being exceptionally brave. As you see here, I don't know what this is called, maybe tab or steps or ladders or something like that in terms of the design. I just thought I want to, just in my head I thought, oh, that could work, because with December I want to highlight all of these different snow and snowflakes. So I use, these are stamps from Lawn Fawn, the different little snowflake stamps, and I use different color distress ink for each of the tab here to highlight the different colors, and that's what I did. And I cut just a little bit for each, I think only 2 lines for each in order to highlight that design. So that means each of the page of the weekly is slightly different size than the other, and I gave myself that challenge on whether I'm able to like do a different spread for each. And you see here, this is the space for the reflection. It's not filled in yet because we're not at the end of December yet. I will fill it later, and likely I will do it this way because this is the first time that I actually have it this orientation rather than over here. And the reason is because I want to be able to, so when you flip it over, I always want to have the side to be still in communication or works with the spread that is currently that I'm looking at. So if I have these mice, for example, over here, and then I flip this over and there'll just be a mouse here, I thought that really doesn't work well, because like what is that, with the entire page over here. So I did this intentionally like this, so that whenever we flip the pages over, then we just see this as kind of like a background of the next page and the next spread. So that's the reason why I love this theme. I have to say, this is a snowball fight again from Lawn Fawn in 2022. Look at this cute snow mouse. Yeah, I thought it was really cute, and the idea of a snowball fight is just absolutely adorable. And this is the calendar. This is the smallest size of the page, and I managed to fit in an entire calendar here, even with little notes on the corner. So I'm quite happy that this worked out. And look at the December there. I wrote it as if it's the trajectory of the snowball being thrown there, which is not possible, but yes, that's what the December is. The next one, the first weekly, is a little ice cave. That's what I think about it, with stalactites at the top and the little mice inside them. And I have these snowballs kind of like going from one ice cave to the next. This mouse is throwing this one to reach the other mouse over here. Similarly with this one, throwing this one to reach the other mouse over here. I thought it kind of nice that the ice cave kind of communicate with one another that way. This weekly, the highlight is the title, the December title here, that I used the Oliver ABC's dies from Lawn Fawn, and I make that little motif of ice at the top of it, which I thought worked really well, and then make the little snowball to interact with one of the dice. Again, like I said, I love them when the elements are interacting, and I keep the rest simple. As you see here, this is kind of like a folder style, folder motif, that I haven't used before, and I thought just to keep it simple, to keep the highlight at the top over here. The next weekly, this is quite messy, I think, so it's not necessarily my favorite, but the idea is that for each of these I use this background dies to have some etchings of the paper over here that I used, and then I also use dies for these little snowflakes to then decorate the spots. It worked out okay, but it just looks really messy, as you see, like the lines over here, and I think it's because I actually use very thin paper. It doesn't work that well. With the thicker one, this one, it worked better. So that is a lesson for me, to kind of like use more thicker paper cardstock when I want to use this kind of style with the background die. Yeah, let's see the border again at the top over here. And this is the last weekly of 2022, the last weekly of December, and the last weekly of the year as well. And this design is from doodaloo.co. The layout, I like that it's basically highlighting different little scenes. Like I said before, I love highlighting different scenes. So that's what I did to highlight these different cheeky mice over here. And I cut down the snow mice so that it's not as big as before. So it was 3-tiered before. Now I made the mouse, I kind of like altered the stem a little bit to make it a stockier, shorter snow mouse that I actually really like. I think it looks really adorable. So that's the last weekly of the year. But just one last thing that I want to show you, which is behind this, is the 2022 retrospective. So every year I always do reflection of retrospective of the year. As you see, I do reflection monthly. I also do reflections by the end of the year, and this is where I plan to write them down. As you can see, the theme is similar or the same with the beginning of the year, so I kind of like bookend them. The beginning and the end has the same theme, and the dandelion comes again, and I might actually need more space than just this, so this one is still blank, but if I need more space I can turn it into another dandelion spread, maybe saying like thanks 2022 over here, and then I can have 4 full pages where I can write down my reflections. And then I still have several more pages at the back, just in case I want to do a bit of summaries, a bit of bullet points of things that I want to remember or anything like that. I can still do that, but that's basically the last page of the bullet journal for 2022. So thank you so much everyone for a little flicking again throughout, that you've been with me to just go through flipping through my entire bullet journal for 2022. I'm absolutely happy that I found bullet journal this year with the kind of style that works for me, and I hope it gives you some inspiration as well. I know it's a very long video, I apologize for that. I would put timestamp in the description box so it's easier for you if you want to skip through to any of the parts that you like to see. So I hope it's something that you enjoyed as well. It has given me a lot of joy and happiness, and outlet for creativity for this year, and I plan to continue on in 2023, and I plan to upload videos of how I make different spreads of different months for 2023. So if you find that something that you might enjoy as well, it might give you some inspirations, please subscribe to the channel. Very happy to have you here, and stay with me until the very end of the video. So I hope to see you again next time around, with other bullet journal cute creations. Thank you. Hope you're having a wonderful holidays, entire wonderful years, and also great things happening for all of us in 2023. Bye.